Yes, Sanimana?
Yeah.
Zo wel. Goedemorgen dames en heren. Good morning. What can I say after the vision statement? All I can say is that I think if we just turn down the volume a bit, I would it. This is volume. I can hear the feedback. So it's really good to be here this morning. This is the third in our series of conversations about our first decade. We started out in Bunting Road, and last week we were out in Kingsway, and today we're at SWC, and next week we will be wrapping up this series at Doornfontein. And so it is a time to pause, to celebrate, to, yes, reflect on the journey. As Prof. Gravitt reminded us, it's a journey that started with tumult, with divisiveness, with uncertainty, with doubt, with a question mark. Is this the place where I can shape my future and the future of young people? And of course, even of more mature adults. Is this the place where I can give substance to who I am and who I'm becoming? And so it was a period of great uncertainty, of extraordinary challenge. And so when I'm asked the question, what is the character of the University of Johannesburg? What is its identity? I can offer the vision statement. I can offer a mission statement. I can offer an evolving set of values. But ultimately, when I answer the question, or I try to answer the question, I say, look deep inside us. You can look deep inside us by looking at our story. Uncertainty, doubt, and accomplishment. So we have accomplished because of our character, not despite our character. We have accomplished extraordinary things because when we are faced with challenge, as the evidence is in front of us, we don't run away. We don't back off. We don't retreat. We don't step away. We step up. We step into this challenge that faces us. And so if you're asking what is the character of the University of Johannesburg, you look at its people. You, us. You look at its people and you look at the journey. Many valleys, many valleys, many hills and indeed mountains that we faced. And again, I ask the question, what is the character of the people of this university? It is a character of resolve. It is a character of determination, of focus. Of course, it didn't just happen like that. We just wake up one morning and suddenly doubt was gone, uncertainty was gone. That's not how it works. It is when we struggle through. It is when we demonstrate our resolve. It is when we, guided by an infectious vision, not in the vision statement. That's not the vision I'm referring to. It's not the one I want to tot out. When people ask me about the vision of the university, its ambition, I don't tot out the vision statement. I tot out something that is much more connected to our hearts. So yes, we can have the words, an international university of choice, anchored in Africa, dynamically shaping the future. But does that connect with you immediately? Does it connect with your heart, with your emotion, with your feelings? Ultimately, we were able to ignite in you, in us. We were able to ignite this infectious thing, this thing inside us. This thing inside us that says, I want to be the best that I can be. I want to offer the very best. I am here at the University of Johannesburg because I've got extraordinary things I can offer. Just look at the work. Look at our work. Last year, our undergraduate module completion rate reached 84.5% without dropping the ball. Without dropping the ball on standards. Without dropping the ball on standards. Last year's, and we look forward to the part 1 of the CA exams. Last year, I recall, it was Professor Dempsey who would remind us that we had a success rate in that part 1 of 95%. So if you are saying that we're dropping the ball on standards, just look at our exit exams or entry exams. And so we built this university on the absolute belief, that we can construct a new kind of university. That we can construct a university that is embracing of its diversity. That we could truly construct here a post-apartheid project together. One that is cosmopolitan. One that says excellence is not just for the super rich in our nation and in our world. But excellence must be accessible to the poorest amongst us, the weakest amongst us. And that is the infectious vision that forms us. A deep belief, a deep commitment that South Africa deserves a great university. Yes, excellence in research, excellence in teaching, excellence in the manner in which we project ourselves to our community and our nation, through our scholarly activities. Excellence in the manner in which we provide services to our academics. Excellence in the manner in which we construct for our students an outstanding experience. Best of the best. Yes, we can tick those boxes. But is that great? Is that greatness? Is greatness research, teaching, graduate output, excellent services inside the university? Is that greatness? I said no. Greatness is measured ultimately by the extent to which a university embraces the poorest and the weakest amongst us. It can't be measured solely by measuring how many of our students have got A aggregates in the university. When we know in South Africa, it is the exception rather than the rule that we will get A students from the poorest of the poor and the weakest amongst us. We know that. So yes, Professor Marwala might come from a school that produces so many A aggregates. Mbilwi, if you don't know the name of the school. But even his school selects the best coming out of primary schools. So what happens when you select the best coming out of primary schools, right? And you've got 20 or 30 of these schools in the country, amongst the poorest and the weakest in our nation. Does that mean that the 30 other high schools in Thohoyandou or in the district, does it mean the other 30 high schools are the same performance as Mbilwi? And so that is the challenge, that's our journey. It's not a complete story. Not by any stretch of imagination. The evidence is there that we embrace the poorest and the weakest in our nation. And I don't mean poorest academically, no. I mean poorest because we know that 1% of the world's population, 1% of the world's population have helped themselves to 48% of the world's wealth. We know, if we extend that 1% to 20%, we know that 20% of the world's population have helped themselves to 95% of the world's wealth. And as I've said at the other campuses, as I say today, the super rich in our nation, in our world, will make every effort to capture institutions such as this one. Implicit, mostly, sometimes overt and explicit. We must make every effort to secure a fair share of places in this university for the poorest and the weakest amongst us. It is when we do that, that we continue in the footsteps of Nelson Mandela, to imagine, but now to build the new society. To imagine a decent, caring, just world and society, but taking action to accomplish that. That is our journey. It is because of that journey that we have accomplished. It is because of your efforts, because of your ambitions, because of your belief that we have prevailed. Not only have we prevailed, we have accomplished it. When few had hope that this merger would see 5 years, when few had hope that this merger would get to this point, look at the accomplishment. Some may say it's a miracle, others may say it is the small miracles that we put together day in, day out. Day in, day out, to transform the lives of young people who come into this university. It does mean, as we pause to celebrate and clap hands and say thank you, as I say, as we say that, as we do these things, that we must find time in this year to reflect. That we must find time, set aside time. Each one of us individually, in our small collectives, in the bigger collective, find time to ask questions. How did I get here? How did we get here? What defines me in this big picture? What is my character that I add to the character of this university and its collective? We have to ask questions about whether we are giving the very best I giving the very best? Am I pursuing global excellence in stature? Don't focus too much on the catalytic initiatives to catalyze global excellence in stature across the institution. Focus on me. Focus on you. Focus on our small collectives. Because ultimately, that is what the next decade is all about. The next decade is ultimately about 10 years accomplished, extraordinary things. And we can talk them, can list them. Education faculty ranked amongst the top 200 programs in the world. Isn't that a big deal? 20-odd thousand universities. To be in the top 200 means you're in the top 1% or better. Am I right? Law faculty. Okay, so the law faculty is jumping up and down because 90% of their first year class this year have an average of B+. Right? The faculty that says we are the super elite. Right? Faculty of law, right? Sits amongst the world's top 200 programs. Ditto for English language and literature. Ditto for politics. Ditto for geography. I hope when the new subject rankings come out in another week or so, 2 weeks' time, that we may be able to say ditto for so, and ditto for so, and ditto for so. Our faculty or let me put it differently, natural sciences at the University of Johannesburg is ranked amongst the top 400 faculties or disciplines or areas. Okay, not disciplines, areas in the world. It's a massive accomplishment. Right? As you can imagine, in the natural sciences field, there's massive investment across the world, across its universities, in the sciences, natural sciences. Ditto for arts and the humanities, also ranked in the top 400. These are not small, minor accomplishments. They're not small by any stretch of imagination. The university is ranked in the top 650 universities. On the African continent for its research, it is ranked number 8. And I can go down the list of accomplishments. I've mentioned in passing the extraordinary progress that we are making. I just got an email this morning from the Dean of the Acting Dean of Humanities of a young woman who just received the results back for her master's dissertation. Distinction. Guess what? She started a few years ago here in an extended degree program. It's extraordinary. So it's not just the big numbers. It is in the shifts, in the changes that we are able to marshal and steward in the lives of individual students, graduates, and their families and their communities and their professions, and in turn the nation. So we can list all of these accomplishments, and I list some of them simply to make the point that it is great effort, resolve, struggle, because nothing that is worthy of celebration comes without struggle. So we have demonstrated our resolve. We have demonstrated our resolve. We have prevailed. We have accomplished magnificently. And that is our character. rising up to an infectious and inspired and ambitious project. Not a project that is simply about putting the University of Johannesburg on a pedestal. No. And on a pedestal we may indeed be. Indeed. But ultimately it is about building a great university for South Africa and the world. And reinventing what it means to be a great university. And so, thank you. Well done. You look as I look at you and I'm a bit concerned that you look like the ruling party benches yesterday. I look at your faces. I don't know if anybody, if you watched the last night between about 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the evening, I sat down and I went to parliamentary TV, switched on, and there was the leader of the official opposition. And the camera kind of panned to the president and to those behind him, and it was grim. And I look at you and I'm worried that that you are not in a mood that I've not infected you with my remarks. I've not lifted you or inspired you. You like sitting there and saying, hell, you've done damn well. Wow, you're sitting there sanguine, chilled. Yeah? But still I look in your eyes a moment ago. Now it's different, your eyes, but I looked a moment ago and you were pensive. You were thoughtful. Nothing wrong with being pensive and thoughtful. But it's also a moment to have an infectious laugh or smile. To be able to say, just look at this campus of ours here. Just look at what we imagined here and what we are accomplishing. It's not finished by any stretch of imagination, this very campus. But of course, a campus is not its buildings, as important as its buildings are, and its grounds are, and its facilities are. Those are important, but they're not as important as you, as us, who give life, who give meaning, who give substance to this project. So let us celebrate. Let us simply say thank you to ourselves, to our teams, to our collectives, and let's use this year to do so. Let's also use this year to think and reflect about the next decade, because it begins this year, the next decade. First decade is behind us before. The next decade lies within us. It begins with us. And it begins this year. And let's be clear. We've not answered all the questions. We're in the process of answering them. We've not ticked all the boxes. We're in the process of ticking those boxes. Our work is far from finished. Far from finished. Yet, we have already accomplished extraordinary things. So thank you very much. We look forward to your contributions this morning. Thank you very much, sir.
The University of Johannesburg. Rethink, reinvent.